All right. Welcome to the Business of Wholesaling podcast. I'm your host, Drew Carroll, CEO of Leadzolo. And today I'm here with Alex from ABC Capital. Alex, how do you say your last name?
Guanipa.
Guanipa, something I will never be able to properly say. So thank you for that. Alex Guanipa. So you guys are out of Florida.
Yeah.
How long have you guys been operating? When did ABC Capital come about?
ABC started, I would say, around 2 years ago. We're coming up on our 2 year mark. It wasn't supposed to be a business. It kind of just happened. I would say right before I went to college. So just, context wise, I'm 21 years old. I'm currently in business with my dad and my best friend. And then our guys that we also have working with us here are my other best friends. So it's really family orientated. It's really, it's a great culture. We started it right before we went to college. Got into it. My dad was partnered with another company. They did operations. They did everything from acquiring the deal, selling the deal, all that. And I was like, hey, I'm gonna give it a try. My dad was bugging me for 2 years before that to, hey, Alex, why don't you just give it a try? We'll hop on the phones. It'll be fun. I was just like, no, Dad, I'd rather play Call of Duty. Blah blah blah. Do all that
as a 19-year-old would.
Exactly. So I'm there. Eventually, summer rolls around the year before I'm supposed to go. I go with my best friend. His name is Chris. We end up. It was kind of like an internship. I really wouldn't call it an internship because they weren't paying us unless we close a deal. Long story short, we're in the summer and we just crushed it. I mean, we were getting a ton of deals. And after that, I mean, once we went to college, they were like, hey guys, no offense, but we're paying you guys too much, right? You guys are closing too much deals. They had never brought on anybody else other than like their group. So they didn't really have a pay structure in place until we got there and started making deals. And they were like, all right, we can either go one of two ways. We can either cut your guys' pay, or you guys, no hard feelings. You go your separate route. Long story short, we end up going our separate route. Started ABC as soon as we got to college. I mean, like I'm talking about like a week into college. After that, we started making deals in our dorm, like in our apartment.
Let me rewind you just a little bit here because I like this is very fascinating. So you guys got a job at with a real estate investor. They were already had some lead flow. They were basically looking for what, acquisition managers or lead managers, that kind of thing.
Yes.
So your foot in the door was that. How did you know about real estate prior to that? Are you like, is it a YouTube thing? Your dad was in it. How did you know about it?
My dad was partnered with them, so they were like a joint. They were joint partners in. They weren't in the same company, but they were kind of working together. So whatever deals they were making, they were splitting profit, doing all that. And my dad was wholesaling, quote unquote, before, I would say like 2, 3, or 4 years before that. So he was already in the game. He knew about it. Me and my friend, we didn't.
Yeah.
So we got into it, started learning like what this was, calling people on the phones. We were kind of like lead setters. So we would call the lead, be like, hey, Mr. Seller, how long have you been thinking about selling? How much are you looking for? If they were anywhere under ARV, we would what we called lobbed. We would lob it to our closer. We called it lob because you know how like when you lob an alley oop.
Yep.
So we lobbed these leads to our closer, and it worked like that. But we would only give him leads that we were 50K under ARV, 70K under ARV.
You were spoon feeding the sales reps.
Spoon feeding them, and it worked for when we were there. Now we're trying to transition into only inbound. Before, when we were doing it with them, it was text, cold calls, all those things.
What an amazing way to get your chops, right? Like, so I think so many people miss this, and like they want to jump in and be a real estate investor, and they know that sales is the big thing, so they're scraping lists and cold calling people without any like system, trying to figure it as they go. Where you guys were just like, we were just on the ground floor of this company. We got the crap kicked out of us doing the shittiest, dirtiest job in the company. Because once you master that, the rest of it's not easy, but like you get a pretty good idea of what's going on. So what a awesome opportunity for you. And now you're going to college, you're in a dorm room, you got this taste of what this is like. And so what do you do? Like,
so long story short, I mean, my days in college, while I was over there, so I'm in Tallahassee at this point. I'm over there with my best friend. We're in the same apartment. We share some other roommates. So basically we tell them, guys, we work from 9 to 7. So from there, like, try to keep it down. Imagine this is one of the craziest college towns in all of the United States. Our roommates weren't too happy that they got two, geeks that were always on the phone working. So we're out there and, just making calls, making it happen. We had zero sort of inbound lead. I mean, we were the thinnest run company probably for the first like 8 months that you can think of. I mean, we would recycle lists.
And where were you getting lists? Like, what was the strategy at that point? Were you like on batch leads, or what were you doing?
Yeah. So the way we would pull lists is we literally would go, all right, so we know what zip codes we want. We know we're only doing Miami-Dade and Broward. We would pull, absentee owner, 90% equity, owned it for more than 10 years. We would get that list of Miami-Dade, get it on PropStream, save it to our thing, skip trace it with whatever skip trace. We would literally, have you heard of kind skip tracing?
No.
Kind skip tracing at the time, I don't know if it still is because we don't really do lists that much. They're called kind skip tracing, 7 cents per record. 7 cents per record. We would skip trace it with them. We would get a 50% hit rate. So it definitely wasn't worth it to do it with them. We should have spent more money. We end up doing it with that. We would text that list as well as call it. So we're texting, calling that one list. After that, after we ran that dry, we would get another list of Broward tax delinquents with some other criterias, high equity, etc. Zombie landlords, tired landlords.
And were you guys just straight wholesaling at this point?
Straight wholesaling. We heard of Subject 2. We heard of Novations. We heard of this, but we're the kind of guys. I don't know if you can tell this already, but we're just gonna wholesale. It's way too complicated. Yeah. To think about novations, think about listings. We know what we're good at. We know what we want to target, and we're gonna go for it. Rather than, my dad has a saying that he always tells us: something done is better than something perfectly undone. Right? So
I like that.
A lot of the times, and I've seen it. We've gone to a bunch of masterminds, a bunch of we've been to Wholesaling Live, and all those things. You see a lot of people that they ask you, like, people have come up to me and asked me, hey, like, what is it that you guys, do differently? What do you do? And I tell them, guys, you just have to start. It isn't like losing weight that you could be like, if you eat less food, you'll lose more weight. If you make more dials and talk to more people, you'll make more money. There's no magic. I can get the absolute best lead from Drew ever in the entire world, but if I'm too scared to call it, if I'm stuck comping the entire property and I don't get in contact with them and somebody else calls them and has no idea what the property's worth, but has a conversation with them and then figures stuff out like that, they'll get the deal. So it's just about, taking action.
Good for you. Good for you. Like, that's a long lesson. It's a hard lesson to learn for a lot of people. We have our mantra is deep, not wide, which is kind of saying the same thing, right? Like, anytime an opportunity comes up, we have to ask ourselves, does this deepen our business model or does this make it wider? And if it makes it wider, we say no. In the same, obviously, I'm in a bit of a different business than you, but like, perfect one thing. Like, just be so good at it that it's undeniable and nobody can compete with you when you're that razor sharp.
Exactly.
That's fun. And you guys, and I just know this from you guys being a client, like, you guys don't waver. Like, Miami-Dade and Broward County, like, that's what you guys do. You guys just specialize geographically as well.
I'd, give some of that credit, over to my dad and our dispo, because if it was up to me, I mean, I don't care if you're in Tampa, I don't care if you're in Orlando, but that's me, right? That's because I'm on the phones and I'm talking to these people. I don't care where. I can talk to you and you're in Ohio, right? It doesn't change the fact for me. The part that starts getting, hiccupy is when half of the job is acquiring the deal, right? But then the other half of the job is to sell it. And what happens to so many people is, like you said, you cast such a wide net that you're getting leads from Ohio, Arizona, Florida, New York, all these places, but you have no idea who in the hell you're going to sell it to, right?
Yeah.
So really niching down on our market, we know, 90% of the people who are going to buy down in South Florida.
And their buy box, right? Like you're not just spamming your buyers. When you get a property in your mind, you're like, oh, Dave's going to buy this one for sure. Like
Exactly. This is, this is the James special, right? It's in his area code. He loves the rehab. It's almost instantly gone. We don't even, I don't want to speak for our dispo, but I'd say we went from, when we were trying to go in other places, we went from, we had an email blast, which I think most, people do.
Mm-hmm.
And we were going from sending that email every single day. And we had probably, I'd say, like a 5% open rate. People hate getting spam emails. They never open them, whatever. Yep. When we niched down in our market and went from, over 25 counties to 2 counties, we have literally stopped sending our email blasts. And when we do send it, maybe it's once or twice every couple weeks, maybe 2 or 3 weeks, we'll send it once or twice. Yeah. And we're getting like a 30% open rate now on our emails, which is a big improvement because all you want is eyeballs, on it. And chances are.
And at this point, you'll have done business with a lot of these guys. So when they see Alex,
a lot of them.
They see ABC Capital, they're just like, oh, yeah, these guys. They're not just spamming me like all these other guys. And
exactly.
You have a relationship, you have a rapport.
And they know, that it's a direct deal. They know that we're not, we're not like daisy chaining. We're not selling other people's deals. Everything's direct. And people just like that sort of transparency, right?
Yeah. Tell me about your first, or at least your favorite contract you got while in your dorm. I assume you were still in your dorms.
Funny enough, it was actually our biggest deal that we ever made to this day. And that right there just shows you how, the saying like ignorance is bliss.
Yeah.
The more you're overthinking and you only get in the way of yourself, right? You're your only biggest obstacle. And it just shows one of our first deals ever was a text blast call. So we're in the middle of class. Me and Chris, we went to the same class. We're in the middle of class. He's sitting next to me, and we get a call. It was a text blast. So we had, call rail.
Yep.
So we had call rail, and we had it set up to our phone that whenever we get a call, everybody gets the call. So we see it, and we say text blast pick up. Chris picks it up. And he goes, hey, this is Chris. How can I help you? The guy's like, yeah, you guys just texted me about 12345 Main Street. What's your offer? He goes, yeah, it's a triplex in Miami. What's your offer? Chris, and I kid you not, he goes, he sees the prop stream estimate says 600, and he goes, because the guy's rushing him. He was like a Spanish kind of English speaker, and he was like, bro, just what's your offer? What's your offer? You called me. And he was like, we'll give you 450. Would you take 450 for it? The guy's like, no, I would never take 450 for it. I'll do it for 500. Chris, not knowing what the hell it's worth, he goes, let's do it. It was our first deal ever. He goes, let's do it. Boom. Hang up the phone. End up calling him a little bit more, end up sending the contract. He signs it. And on that deal, our first one that we're in class, hearing about biology in a giant auditorium, he goes and we made $180,000 off of that first deal.
Unbelievable. And did you have a hard time dispoing it or anything, or it was just like it was just perfect?
I'm not too sure about how they dispoed it. I know it was to a newer investor. They didn't double close on it or anything, so the guy saw that we were making that much. He didn't care. He rehabbed it, I think, already. Sold it for like he might be renting it or sold it already. That property looking back on it, we're more pissed at ourselves now because we know so much more that we probably would have kept it, refinanced it, and kept a triplex in Miami that we would have got for 500,000 when those are going for 900, a million rehabbed. But I mean, at the time it was just, we were down. We hadn't had a deal in, a couple months since we had left the company. Yeah. And, being able to wholesale something for that much. I mean, we saw the 180 and we're like, we're doing it. We don't care. Paid back a lot of the loans, the debts that we were in with, credit cards and all that. And, since then we've been kicking it and trying to be as consistent as possible. That's really like the big thing about wholesaling is being consistent, right?
Yeah.
Because this past week we've we've gotten like 3 or 4 contracts. I would say we were almost like at 2-3 weeks without any contracts, anything. So it's just like, how do you find that balance of being consistent where it's not like this the best month of all time and guys, we're going to shut the doors down if we don't lock something up.
So what does your operation look like now from marketing down to dispo?
Our operations, again, we're trying to market to our areas. So whether that be, pay per lead, whether that be our own advertising, we do run some YouTube ads, we run TikTok ads. Our main target is those areas. We look for older folk, tax delinquencies. We're having a really good luck on people that are upside down. So buying their deeds and doing things like that. We were actually talking about it before, Drew, where we're partnering up with somebody down in South Florida. His name's Willie. And he has cracked the code on doing, short sales, deeds, buying the deeds from the seller and being able to negotiate with the bank and then being able to wholesale that property that they owed $300,000. We negotiated it to $150,000. And now we have that house that's still worth $300,000, but we got it for $150 now because we bought the deed from the homeowner for $10,000. $15,000 from them, networking and not only being so tunnel vision on one way, right? I see a lot of people, they see an Instagram video about seller finance or subject to, and they only want to, subject to properties and finance, and they're, they no longer want to do cash deals because those are stupid and nobody's gonna sell their house for 50%. Yeah. But your limit, it's that self-doubt, that limiting, belief that really does hurt you.
It's a bit of the shiny object syndrome, right? Like entrepreneurs have it naturally. I couldn't imagine being 21 years old and an entrepreneur. I would have a ton of shiny object. But I think that's what we all have our excuses, right? And I think that can be one of them, being your dispo strategy. And they're like, somebody's like into wholesaling and they dabble for a month and then they see sub 2. So they dabble for a month and then they see novations and they dabble for 4 months. And at the end of the day, 6 months have gone by and they haven't sharpened the saw and they're just not good at any of it. So I think that's interesting. So you guys are just like really focused on one thing. And then as other opportunities like this Willie situation comes in, you guys are able to take advantage of that. Correct. Because it's not a distraction. It's not taken away. It's now adding.
Correct. And I think you said it. I think I was watching one of your podcasts actually with Tyson Smith. Mm-hmm. So I watched one of them, and I mean, you said it best. You were like, the best strategy as far as marketing wise, because again, 2 different fields, but marketing wise, you were like, why would I want to, if my budget's $10,000, why would I want to spend $2,000 on Facebook, $2,000 on Instagram, $2,000 on TikTok, $2,000 on pay-per-lead, $2,000 on, I'd rather give the data, right? I'd rather give YouTube $10,000 to create the data, make let the algorithm work with $10,000 than doing it across 5 different channels and 2,000, and they just don't have enough data to work. So it's kind of like the same thought process. Like, let's master one script, one way of doing, and then add it rather than dividing our budget into, where it's not all working together.
Yeah. Brilliant. It's I think too many people miss the plot on that, and marketing too, right? Like you were talking about how you guys have some marketing, and you also do PPL, like with us and with some other companies and stuff like that. And you guys are even looking at simplifying that. You were mentioning, right? Like this month, you're trying to just focus in on marketing channels to really understand the and like one specific channel and maximize it.
And you could boil that down to a small science of anything that you do. For us on marketing, we were like, hey, look, we're doing YouTube, and it's costing us $150 to $200 to get a lead. Right now, here's the caveat. That lead, we can be a little bit more in control of the form. We can ask them what's their asking price. We can do all those things. But the caveat is, all right, we got a mobile home lead. What do we do with that? That's $200, right? Okay, we got a lead that's listed. Yeah, that's $200. Oh, we got a lead that completely wrong information. So we're like, our thought process was, why do that when we can go to somebody like Drew who, to my point, has spent the $10,000 on YouTube to really, figure that out. And another point was like, the company Leadzolo is invaluable. It's the account that Leadzolo has is valuable, right? So it's like, he spent $3 million, $4 or $5 million on that account. Why are we going to try to recreate, that with $20,000 in 2 months when your account already has all the data and things that we're looking for? Yep. It was just a no-brainer to us, and we were like, hey, we're just shooting ourselves, in the foot by trying to go do it ourselves. At this moment, that's not to say like it's a bad idea to run your own ads and do anything like that, because what we've also found out is like running your ads has more benefits than just getting leads. We have buyers who would literally call my dad and be like, hey, we saw you on my YouTube. Like, speaking of that, like, do you guys have any properties? I haven't seen your email in a while. Like, what's going on? Like, it's the intrinsic value of running ads too. That's a benefit, but you kind of have to decide where you are, like, as a business, to make decisions like that. And for us,
that's great advice. I was just talking to somebody who runs TV commercials, and he was like, his, and this is the person running TV commercials. He goes, running TV commercials is not about direct response. He's just like, Correct. It's not about how much money you get per lead from a TV commercial. Running TV amplifies your radio ads, your Facebook ads, your YouTube ads, your PPC ads, because what it's doing is name awareness. So now everybody in the town knows ABC Capital. Whether they fully understand what you do or not isn't really the point. So now next time they see an ad of ABC Capital saying that they'll give you a cash offer on your home, now you have that much more authority because they know your brand already. They've seen you on TV, that kind of stuff. So it's a very good observation that you have about that there are intangibles that are hard to measure when it comes to advertising that are quite beneficial.
And we see it ourselves. I mean, again, our cost per lead is X amount, but who knows if we weren't running that ad, that buyer would have reached out and been like, hey, are you guys buying properties? And we end up selling a property to him, and that pays for that lead and 10X. So it's all those little things, and it's really a point in your business that you got to decide, like, hey, because we can get our 200 lead from Drew, but number one, our name's not getting out there. They're not seeing our thing. But are we going for just lead volume? And there's no better way to get lead volume than somebody who has a $5 million account who's getting a bunch of leads. It just depends on the user and the company, kind of direction
and stage of company, right? Like you're working in a dorm room right now, like incredible. So where are you guys at right now? I know you were definitely talking about the volatility of contracts and whatnot, which everybody experiences. So where like per month on average, how many deals are you guys doing?
Per month, I would say on average we're going for about like one contract a week. That's the goal. Our real like measurable goal is 2 contracts a week. The thing is that especially down here in South Florida, you're not finding any deals for 10,000. You're not finding any deals for 15, 20. Our average deal size is around like 35, 40,000. So yeah, the amount of deals are smaller, but if we can get about 2 deals, a week, we're on track to do like 100,000 a week, at those numbers. So that's for us. And I'd say right now we're doing about, maybe 4, 5, or 6 on average a month.
21 years old, casually running a multi-million-dollar company while going to school, which is incredible. So on that note, what is the plan next year, right? Like, you're going to be done school, you're going to have significantly more time to focus on your business. And let me ask you the question that was the top of, I just had a leadership retreat with my company. And the thing at the very top was, what is the biggest lever? So I asked you that question. What is the biggest lever once you have some more time? Like, how do you double your company as soon as the school year's over?
Definitely being able to, put your full focus into it, making more phone calls, being more creative, on finding leads. And because buying leads is not the only way you can make leads, especially, with social media and things like that. Yeah. There's so many ways to do it. Recording content, being on podcasts, things like that to raise awareness, being able to do more things like that. I would say being able to double down on the time, on the effort, maybe like hiring out, another acquisitions, finding a real savage closer is something that we're looking into doing, because right now we have me, my dad, Chris, Jake, who does Dispo as well, and we have Koa, and he's kind of like acquisitions, like setter, kind of like how I was, but now for me. So I'm getting set up with those, and being able to maybe hire somebody with more experience, 5+ years of sales, ideally would help us double, if not triple, the amount of deals that we're closing.
Yeah, that's interesting. I was just speaking to somebody, Rich Wonders, if you're familiar with him. He has a team of 19. He has 19 sales reps, and they only JV. So he said all of his leads come through. He wakes up in the morning, he records a reel saying, "We'll JV with your deal," because he's got a big following, and that's it. Yeah. The rest of the day, his sales guys mine his inbox, basically. They don't run ads, they don't do anything. So it's interesting the amount of different avenues that you have as an investor to get deals put in front of you. So that's really cool.
Yeah.
So let me ask you this: what would you say the number one thing is contributed to your success?
Definitely my dad. Number one, I would say for sure. Number two, because you're not going to be able to find him on YouTube or anything. But number two, I would say just I'm a big believer in you learn through osmosis, right? So you learn through putting yourself in the fire. As I've we've talked about already. My biggest contributing factor is just going after it, doing it, putting yourself, like, you're going to fail, you're going to mess up, but doing it anyway, because you only know that your next time you're going to know not to do that. But, just kind of waiting around in limbo and being like, hey, I kind of want to perfect my script before I even talk to a person. You're still going to fuck up anyway, when you do it. And that's what people don't understand. Like, you're going to mess up no matter how much you prepare. So you might as well mess up while you're preparing, so you're growing at an even faster rate.
Yeah, I heard a quote once that it's like, successful people fail just as many times as unsuccessful people. The only difference is they just get out of the way quicker. They're just like, well, If I need to fail 4 times before I have a good sales call, let's get through those 4 shitty calls like this morning. And so I can close tomorrow. Where unsuccessful people sit there and spend days thinking about the ass kicking that they're going to have to take before they learn this new skill or whatever it might be.
Exactly.
So what about your father? Do you give credit to? I'm going to speculate a little bit here, and you correct me if I'm wrong or steer me in another direction. But he seems very entrepreneurial, just from the little bit that I know from this conversation. And I met him, of course. So what has he done that has helped you do this? Like, obviously you're going to school and you're an entrepreneur. So you've gotten like what I would say both sides of my family, right? I have one camp of my family is like, go to university. Other camp of my family is like, fuck university, go become an entrepreneur and make your own economy. So how was your father able to instill both of those values in you? And how do you think that that's led to your success at the age of 21?
Number one, a little context of his background is he has worked sales since like he was 20 years old. He worked at a Fortune 500 company, phone sales, and that's just like what he grew up on, and that's what I've always known him. You know, whenever I'm around, he's talking about sales. If it isn't, you know, if we're not talking about food or football or something, it's sales and like a life lesson or a motivational quote. So with him, I mean, I credit a lot of the things that I've learned from him. Just number one, by osmosis. I just constant hearing it. There's things that I do sometimes that I don't even know why, and he'll go and he'll tell me, I've been telling you to say that since you were 7, right? So it's things like that. I would say, you know, he had me when he was 18 years old, right? So he's always been working. He's always been grinding. You know, him and my mom, they have been together since they were 14 years old. So I can't even imagine having a kid 2 years ago.
Right.
You know, let alone, you know, even having a kid now. So, you know, knock on wood. But it's definitely a lot of patience on his end, because again, he's been trying to get me to do this for a long time, and it wasn't something that he could force me to do, which I think happens a lot with parents. They kind of want to imprint their way of life and their way of thinking onto their child, rather than like a good thing that my dad, I would say, he never really did was like, hey, you need to do this or blah, blah, blah. Or like, you're an idiot if you don't blah, blah, blah. Like, it was always like, hey, Alex, like, wouldn't it be crazy if you got like a $5,000 check, like, and you were like 19? Like, wouldn't that be crazy? I was like, of course that would be crazy. There's no way I can make 19,000. And he would show me a check of his deal that he just closed by being on the phone. And I would be like, I could do that. Like, why not? Right.
But he just like walks away and lets it linger.
It's that idea of like, hey, it was my idea to do it. It's not like, yeah, my dad is forcing me to be on the phone. No, it's like he's leading me to that direction without it being like being aware of it. It's kind of like leaving like trails. Like you leave, like on the squirrel, you leave a bunch of breadcrumbs and you get the squirrel to end up over there, but the squirrel was just eating food and thinking, it's my lucky day. Right. So it's that. And again, like his experience, number one. Number two, it's like between me and my dad, there's no ego, right? Like I understand, you know, where he's coming from, and you know, we might butt heads every once in a while. I'm not saying like we're perfect or nothing, but it's that like respect, and that like I understand where he's coming from. There's no reason, like, he doesn't think he's better than me. I don't think I'm better than him. It's like we're family, and we're gonna try to make the best, you know, out of it
together.
Exactly. There's no, I'm not jealous of him, or he's not jealous of me, and I know whatever he does is with the intent of love, right? Like there's no other intent, like there's no evil behind it, and not having to worry about that. Like, hey, like, is this guy gonna screw me over? Am I you know, jealous of it? No, like, out of anybody in the entire world, I think my dad, number one, would never do anything to, you know, to spite me or do that. And not having that worry you just can't beat it.
What an amazing support system. Yeah. Like, that's incredible. Yeah. What advice would you have for 19-year-olds who are listening to this podcast and are familiar with the industry, but are still stuck in overwhelm and, you know, going through YouTube videos? What would you tell them to do today?
Just get a list. Again, call it. Don't worry. Literally nowadays you can go on ChatGPT, search up best intro cold caller script, 2 pages long. You're going to fuck up anyway. Just call them, do it. And then as you do it over time, you'll be more familiar. You're only going to get more knowledge if you actually, care about doing this.
Yeah.
You only get more knowledgeable by, you're going to continue to watch YouTube videos anyway. You're going to continue to, read books. You're going to continue to go on Instagram and follow your favorite wholesaler. Like, why not immerse yourself in the world that you already want to do, rather than waiting to, watch all the other influencers do it, when chances are by you doing it, you're going to get better than watching or buying or obtaining any course or script that you can, right?
Well, in the same way you did, like you took a job for no pay to essentially just go to get the experience. You made some money, which is great, but just like throwing yourself into it. I think that's a great life lesson in general. I can't think of a single situation that wouldn't apply for, right? So long as you're not going to hurt yourself, like don't go into things ignorantly, but as you said before, imperfect action beats no action every single time.
100%.
What have you implemented in your business that's given you the biggest return on your time and money? So like what specifically tactically in your business was surprising to you and gave you a big return?
No bias because I'm on Drew's podcast. But I'd say implementing, Leadzolo. For us, I mean, we have, and I'm sure you can, talk to Daniela about it. She hits us up on email like, hey, you guys got another affiliate. And amazing. It's no reason other than it works, right? If it wasn't something that would work, we wouldn't be promoting it to our colleagues, to people that ask us, hey, what's working for you guys? Then we already do. I can go back and probably take a look at it, but I just know our return on Leadzolo is well over what we pay for it. And, we've been with them for a long time, even before this new, the new system and all that. So, we've seen the ups and downs. We've seen, the form fill change and all that. But through it all, I was telling Drew, we've tried other pay-per-lead sources, and they just don't compare. The lead quality's worse. The answer rate's worse. The fake numbers are increasing, the, everything else. But for us, once we implemented PPL, because we were also doing cold reach. So we're doing a lot of text blasts. We're doing a lot of cold calling. When we implemented pay-per-lead, I mean, it beats, calling a text 35 times to 100 times of the day. Right? Because these people want to sell. And when you can talk to 10 people who want to sell rather than 350 people who just want to hear an offer, you're going to be able to close at a lot faster clip. And that cash on cash return, that's just what you're looking for, right?
Yeah. Yeah. That's awesome, man. I appreciate the plug. And yeah, like you're nailing it too. Like you just simplify that part of your business. Right. And I think that this is what has made you so successful in the last 2 years. You're just really good at identifying like, oh, here's this lever. How do we simplify it and just let it go? Here's this lever. Let's simplify it and move on. Like even you're skirting around dispo conversations because you don't focus on dispo. Like you are the acquisition dude and you just care about acquisitions. When it gets to dispo, you just kick it over to your dad. You know? It's awesome to see how focused you are.
Yeah, and you can ask them. I mean, I'm sure you'll see them in Boston. But they'll literally ask me like, "Hey, Alex, what do you think we should sell this for?" I have no idea. Yeah. Right? Alex, did you? No, I was saying like they were asking me the other day. They were like, "Alex, do you even know how much we're making on this property?" Zero clue. I just worrying about the next one.
My job's to get the contract at the lowest dollar I can. Your job's to go maximize it.
Exactly. And then what happens is people get too much shiny object syndrome that they're doing this. And one of the things that my dad also said is like 0 divided by 0 is 0. Right? Like people all the time, they're like, I think I could do this by myself. Right? Like, why would I go to a company that they're providing the leads? All they have to do is call people and get them under contract, and they don't have to worry about a single thing. They don't have to worry about where the lead came from. They don't have to worry about how much the lead costs. They don't have to worry about dispoing the deal. They just have to worry about calling and getting locked up. They're like, why would I go work for somebody and do that when I can just do it myself? And then they go into realize 8 months later, they still have 0 deals. And that's why he says 0% of 0 equals 0. Yeah. So who cares if you got 100%? You're not making any deals. It's like this business is a lot harder than people think it is because of all the extra. I mean, I'm sure you've dealt with it. The legal battles, you're dealing with distressed sellers. These aren't the sharpest tools in the shed. These aren't the people that are, hey, sign the name here, let's go. Like, these are people with serious problems. They're behind on their mortgage. They're behind on taxes. These are the worst properties, that you can think of. Yeah. There's a reason that they're in this position. Right. So thinking that everything's going to go smoothly. We have a guy right now that we're under contract with. He has not answered us in like 2 weeks since we signed, since we went under contract with him. Completely ghost. I mean, we can't reach him. So we're at his house. He's not there. Like, God forbid something happened to him. Yeah. But these are the kind of people that we're dealing with.
Right. Like, they're highly emotionally charged, which means they're lower, like, logically charged, as we are as humans. And yeah, exactly your point. Like, we're filtering for motivation, which means we're filtering for people who have a lot of emotional issue, typically around finances, and have created or have fallen into an issue. So yeah, that's a really interesting point. And it's a relationship business. So it's all about multiplying relationships. So why would you start off by yourself if you could start off with a partner or 2 partners, and like out of the gate, you're 3 times more likely to be successful because you have 3 times the amount of network to start off with.
100%. Couldn't agree more.
And even I want to comment on your osmosis. We're in masterminds together for anybody listening. Yeah. I was trying to explain to somebody in my family the other day a mastermind, and I mentioned, because masterminds can be expensive, and we're not going to talk about it right here, but they're they're multi 5 figures a year. And I was explaining it to somebody in my family, and they're just like, so what specifically do you get for all of that money? And I'm just like, I don't know. I get to fly out and hang out with people who are more successful than me. Like, literally no more I need than that. Is that, like, I just need to be around people who are more successful than me because they think about things that are different than me. They act differently than I am. They have different emotional barriers than I am. And I want all of that to rub off on me. Yeah,
100%. And funny you say that. This actually came about my dad. Again, full credit to him. There was a mastermind or some kind of event, I think like a couple days ago. Maybe like a week ago that was down in Miami, and he was like, damn it, bro. Like, how did we not know about this? Like, why didn't we go? And I'm there and I'm like, Dad, like, why? We don't even need to go to that. Like, what are we going to learn from there? Like, what are we going to learn that we haven't learned? Like, we've been to all these events. Like, it's just another wholesaling event. And that's when he like kicks my ass and he's like, wow, have I not taught you anything? Like, we're not going to the event to learn the criteria. We're going there to learn the people that are there. Number one, the amount of think about a deal that you made, or you JV'd, or you got a client from going to these events, pays for the event, by itself, or a little gem that you hear, not from the speaker, but talking to another person that also attended the event. Like, that's where the value in these events are, rather than, I went to the event and I made 10x because I heard this on stage. Like, it really doesn't work like that.
Yeah, you're not going to an event to find the perfect follow-up sequence. Like,
exactly.
If you have a follow-up sequence, you're good. You're there to learn a lot more. The biggest return I had from a mastermind had nothing to do with connecting with wholesalers or my platform. It was hearing about a lawyer who introduced me to a CPA who like introduced us to an accounting practice that has like revolutionized how we do our accounting. And like, I signed up for a real estate mastermind, and that partnership has made me tenfold what the cost of that mastermind will ever cost. So everything now is just gravy.
Exactly. Yeah. It's just a butterfly effect with the events.
Well, man, this has been awesome. I'm really glad we got to have this conversation. Where can people find you? If people are all about Alex, how can they follow you and kind of see how your journey progresses?
Definitely give us a follow at ABC Capital Group. Just about like that, ABC Capital Group. We post kind of like our journey. We kind of post, day in the lives. We post tips, tricks. We post, anything. And again, if you guys have any questions, don't be a stranger, right? I know you probably hear this all the time from other people, like, hey, just DM us. But I'm serious. Like, we're family orientated. We're friend orientated. We practice what we preach, right? We're not, some snobby guys who, only care Miami greedy, blah, blah, blah. Like, we're here to help. We're here to spread our knowledge, because we were in those exact same shoes 2 years ago. And I'm not saying that, we're cream of the crop, we're at the top, but if there's something that we know that we can help you out on, we'll let you know, just like we hope somebody who's above us and as somewhere that we want to be would help us, because we believe in, the law of reciprocation. Whatever you give, it's going to come back to you tenfold.
That's awesome. And we're going to link to everything. All of your social and everything will be linked wherever you're listening to this or watching this podcast. So thanks a lot, man. I really appreciate this. And
of course,
I'll see you in a couple of days in Boston.
Yeah. We'll see you in Boston. We'll connect, and hopefully we get to do more cool stuff like this.
Damn right.
All right, Drew. I appreciate it.
All right, brother. See you soon.
All right, guys. Take care.
Bye.